And what is up, everybody? All right. I just finished watching, well, I watched Creed, right? And as far as reviews or anything like that, probably a bunch of people posted up, whether saying it's worth your time or anything like that. But I'm going to give you, this isn't so much a review as it is a rant. I do reviews and rants, so here's a rant. It was a good movie, but I don't necessarily I really don't necessarily care if I ever see it again. I don't. Um, Granted, this is there's supposed to be the continuation of Rocky with this new character who you find out is Apollo's son, and one of the biggest. This review is going to be full of spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, turn this off, go watch the movie, then come back to it. Unless you don't plan on watching the movie, go right ahead and keep on listening. And if you have seen the movie, go ahead and keep on listening. So you find out that this is Apollo's son from a woman who's wasn't his wife. Out of nowhere, Apollo had an affair. Are you kidding me? What where seriously, where the hell did this come from? I mean, it would have made sense if, let's say, uh he was conceived like 2 days before Apollo died, or something like that. No, he was like, no, he had an affair with another woman. It's where did they come up with this stuff? I mean, did they do this because he was black and he was rich? Now, granted, he's supposed to be based off of the character Apollo Creed was based off of Muhammad Ali. So how obviously how show how much of a show off, and how you know he was just an absolute show off, from the time he fought Rocky to especially the day that he died. And he was obviously very flashy. So for something like that, for something like that to happen to him, it kind of sucked. And basically, you did just ruin Apollo's good name. Oh, he had an affair, this, that, the other. Oh, that doesn't stop. No, that doesn't stop what he did for the sport, but that does change the way you think of him as a human being. Nobody disliked Ronda Rousey because she's a bad athlete. They dislike her because she's a horrible human being. That being said, I understand that this is not Rocky's movie, but at the same time it is. Granted, they did the character Rocky justice, and as far as how Sylvester Stallone carried himself as Rocky through this movie, and how the writer wrote the character, yeah, that's more or less how it would go down. Because Paulie, you find out Adrian died between Rocky's 5 and Rocky Balboa. Now between Rocky Balboa and this movie, Paulie died, and you saw in the trailer him going to the cemetery, and rather than leave a rose that he normally does, leave flowers for Adrian like he normally does, he's leaving a bottle of whiskey for Paulie. So the way certain thing, you see him in the hospital, turns out like he was diagnosed with cancer, and he wasn't going to do anything about it due to the fact that is, pretty much there's nothing left for him to do. His life, he had lived his life. His wife is gone. His best friend's gone. So, his son, moved to Vancouver with his with his girlfriend, and he hears hardly hears from his son. So, whatever. And I felt bad because when they showed a picture of him and his son, it was his real life. It was a picture with him and his real life son, Sage Stallone, God rest him, hopefully, who died from a drug overdose. So, that's kind of sad. And so this being Rocky's movie, yet it not being Rocky's movie, it was entirely too ghetto-fied. Way too ghetto-fied. I understand it's Creed's movie. I understand that this is the modern day. But if you're gonna do a passing of the more or less a passing of the torch, some of the stuff was just ridiculous. Entirely too much hip hop, not too much tribute to Rocky. This is supposed to be the continuation, but there really wasn't enough of Rocky in it. I understand this wasn't Rocky's movie, but at the same time, it was. You're trying to make him go full circle and pay tribute to Rocky, but you're not paying tribute to Rocky. What the hell sense does that make? The director's decisions for entirely too much miso and sen. For those of you that don't know what miso and sen is when basically you take a scene and rather than go from different angles and then edit it all together, you just have the camera running and the entire scene is played out, and the camera will move to wherever it has to catch whatever dialogue or whatever scene it needs to catch, this, that, the other. They were doing that entirely too much, especially during the fights. And a lot of times they do that. It's like they'll do that in a war movie to really put you in there. But the way this was done, it took me out of the movie. It really took me out of the movie. The fact that they were doing it like that. I don't understand it. How they managed to do that. Having him been raised by his mom, having died when he was very young, having him raised in foster homes and stuck in juvenile hall for fighting all the time, this, that, the other, and then finally being raised by Apollo's wife. By this time he's already like 12 years old, something like that. As a matter of fact, the movie starts in 1998. So what time this movie come out? How long ago did she finally decides to adopt this kid, and then to have his older brother be running a gym that he doesn't want, that he's gonna stay in the boxing business training boxers, but his little brother who wants to fight, no, you ain't fighting. Kid had 15-0. He was fighting in Tijuana, Mexico. It was 15-0, but knocks out in the gym, knocks out one of the best, one of the top 10 boxers in the world. Actually, this guy was like a top 5, and knocks him out. But still not gonna try to train him or anything like that. Ridiculous. Obviously, this kid had the drive. And if you're gonna train other, our father died in the ring, so you can't box. I'm gonna train other people to box, and they could potentially die in the ring, but I'm not gonna do that for you. Really, the hell sense does that make? That's why he had to move to Philadelphia. and of course the ending. The guy that they had him fight, I'm guessing the light heavyweight champ that they had. I'm guessing he is a real, WBC champion. I'm guessing, but what winds up happening is, um, I was under all of a sudden it's like they borrowed entirely too much from Rocky. Movie starts with him doing this fight, basically just like Rocky, fighting Spider Rico, as as a prize fighter. Turns out prize fighting is not the same as boxing. I've come to find out, and that's basically what Rocky was, and that's why he was treated. That's why he was treated like a loser, up until out of nowhere he's given a shot by Apollo, and that's pretty much what happens here. Only difference is he had those, those club fights, those prize fights in Tijuana, Mexico. He's undefeated in Tijuana, Mexico, and this kid was much more technically sound than Rocky as far as boxing. These fights in Tijuana, he's 15-0. They don't even try taking that into consideration. And then he has his first professional fight in Philadelphia, and that's when it's outed that that's Apollo Creed's son. Then out of nowhere, he's given a world title shot. The guy the champion's supposed to fight, can't do it. Gets injured, can't do it, and the champion, since he had beaten everybody else, they decide to do a gimmick and give him Apollo Creed's son, Apollo's son, whose name is Adonis. Another Greek, name, which is this, that, the other, whatever. Okay, it kind of goes with the territory of Apollo, Adonis, whatever. But at the end, they go through the trouble of having him basically do the first Rocky all over again. He just goes the distance with the champ. Didn't win, just went the distance. Are you kidding me? Really? Made absolutely no sense. The only difference being was the fact that they basically said that this was supposed to be the champion's last fight. And at the end, the champ was like, comes to him and says, basically, he's like, you did good. Like, even though he was trash talking him the whole time, giving him, nothing but grief from day one, dogging him, insulting him, this, that, the other. Basically, because they figured because he was Apollo Creed's son, everyone's under the impression that he was living the good life. And that wasn't true until he was like 12 years old. He was like, he was poor. He knows what hunger was. He knew what what poverty is. He knew what having to fight for your life was, and the fact that he was rescued and educated, and he had a pretty decent job that he quit so he could become a professional fighter. And clearly he made the right choice. I want to say that, like, as far as from you've seen my other stuff as far as like what I talk about with MMA, as well as different movies and stuff like that. And me and myself, as I'm telling you this from a filmmaker's aspect, from a fighter's aspect, that they must have done some serious boxing training, some really serious boxing training to pull off this choreography. I mean, man, like Michael B. Jordan's technique was perfect. It was absolutely perfect. None of the Rockies had that. All 6 Rockies, none of them had as good technique as this. And mind you, they had Tommy Morrison in Rocky 5, and especially Antonio Tarver. And both of these guys, world boxing champions, yet Michael B. Jordan in this movie had better technique than any of them than either of them showed as far as their fight choreography or anything like that, you know, which I thought was absolutely amazing. I appreciated the attempt, more or less, as a tribute film, this, that, the other. I don't know if they're ever, I don't know if they're gonna make another Creed. I honestly haven't heard the buzz about, oh yeah, #1 movie in America, this, that, the other. I'm not sure if it underperformed. If it underperformed, they're definitely not gonna make another one, because if Sylvester Stallone would have directed this movie, it would have definitely been a lot better. If he would have directed this movie, it would have been a lot better. If he'd have written it, it would have been a lot better. I'm not saying that it should have been, more Rocky, this, that, the other, but at the same time, it is just certain things about it. Personally, I thought I think Rocky 5 is better than this movie. I like Rocky 5. I don't know what the problem with people have with Rocky 5. Perfectly good movie. It wasn't it wasn't fair what had happened to him, but unfortunately that's life. That's how a lot of former heavyweight champions and these guys who are millionaires, that's what happened to them. So he made a movie about it, and nobody liked it. Oh, I don't like that he lost everything. Well, how many Mike Tyson lost everything? Friggin' like the list goes on of all these men that were on top of the world while they were the champ, while they were still boxing. All of a sudden, nothing. Jack Dempsey. What happened to that man? Just absolutely horrible. What happened to him? Muhammad Ali. Granted, he's well off, but not but nowhere near as much as he used to be. Ridiculous. My father, God rest him, was constantly going to Washington D.C., Philadelphia, and stuff like that. Basically doing like bodyguard work for this rich friend of his, who was a huge boxing fan, going back and forth, seeing, meeting up with all these, seeing all these world champion boxers, meeting Lennox Lewis, Evander Holyfield. This is when they were still champs. This is when they were still champion. George Foreman and all this other stuff. But how many champions he met that were homeless? I was like, it didn't even have not even not it was beyond poverty. It's ridiculous. These guys, that's just ridiculous. So for Sylvester Stallone to make a movie about that happening to him, totally understandable. Having trained somebody who had the potential but not the right mindset, not the humility for the game. That's a mistake anybody can make. I mean, hell, I've made it a couple times myself. Personally, like I said, I don't know how well this movie did. If it underperformed, we're not going to see another one. If it did well, great, good on it. If there's another Creed movie, him getting another title shot and this time winning it, I'm probably going to go see it. But it is a good movie. I have my nitpicks about it of things I don't agree with what they did, but at the same time, if any of you guys haven't seen it, I recommend watching it. And if nothing else, buy the DVD or Blu-ray. just so that you have it with the rest of the Rockies. I'm done talking. You guys have a good night.